Hey everyone, it's Erin, and today I'll be recreating some Eyvind Earle concept art for Lady and the Tramp with just a few colors of gouache. I have a flathead brush, I have a brand new fancy round brush, and some washi tape here. Just excited about my collection of washi tape. I have yogurt lids and paintbrushes for drumming. Okay, and here's the piece of concept art I'm making. Look at that, they're on a date, cute. I've chosen this piece because I'm heading to New York City in a few days. I've never been. It's a big city, so I thought I'd do a city scene. And I'm starting off with some cyan blue and some white, and starting with a little bit of water, getting it all nice and smooth and creamy. Can you roll your R's? Everyone try it. No, now I can't do it. Forget it. Anyway, mixing some water in, making it nice and creamy, and then filling in the background, just the center part here where the sky is. And it was interesting to me while I was painting this. I realized that this background color isn't as dark as you would expect it to be, being a night sky. It's actually quite bright, but compared to the darkness of the buildings around it, it really pops. It really looks like a glowing night sky. Maybe there is a full moon. Oh, and now it makes even more sense. Just smoothing out the background layer. I started with a watered down layer of gouache. Cyan is quite transparent as well, so I added a little bit of white, and now I'm doing a slightly darker version by adding a little tiny bit of black, wiping off the excess on a paper towel, and then doing this dry brush effect to get some of the dry brush effect into the background there, into the sky. And then adding even more black and some more water so that it's a bit smoother and creamy, and then I can start to paint in the silhouetted rooftops that you see in this little narrow view of the sky. It's a really great composition because it's quite narrow, so you're seeing down, you're looking down an alley, a narrow alley, and the light from the sky and then the light from a doorway that's open is shining into the alley, so there's a lot of dark area shadow and a lot of drama for their date, dramatic date. So this scene is from Lady and the Tramp, and it's a scene called Belle Notte, and it's the whole segment where they go on their date and they go and have spaghetti, the spaghetti kiss, famous spaghetti kiss. And no, for anyone wondering, I have not yet had a spaghetti kiss with someone else. I may have tried one by myself, but it basically just turned into me eating spaghetti. So not as romantic. But this scene, this whole part of the movie was visually conceptualized by Eyvind Earle at the request of Walt Disney. He really loved Eyvind's look, and Eyvind was trying to get a job at Disney for a long time, for I think it was 3 years, and every week or every other week he would apply, and eventually he got the job. And then I think this was his first major assignment, was to do all of the concept art for Belle Notte. And I didn't realize he had worked on some of the city scenes. I thought Eyvind had just worked out the park scene when Lady and the Tramp are walking through the park, and then do they kiss again? No. They find a nice shady tree, and they snuggle. I think they just snuggle. But anyway, that scene with all the trees and the drama and the glowing light, that was Eyvind. So this is Eyvind too, and I just realized that my proportions were off, so I had to take the tape off of the bottom, and I ended up taking more tape off because I got the proportions really wrong. I was zoomed in, so don't zoom into your image when you're trying to tape out your proportions. So I've added a little bit of yellow to the cyan, white, black mixture, and I've watered it down quite a bit so that it's really smooth. So I smoothly apply it to this area of the alleyway, the ground. So this is, the ground of the alley. And then adding some shadows with a watered down version of that dark bluey black. And yeah, going really quickly. So the whole point of this video, what's special about this video, I guess, or hopefully it's special, is the fact that this is a really rough, quick, expressive piece of concept art. So for me, I think this is the most expressive one that I've done so far, and it was really fun to do. I actually did this quickly, and while I was working on one of my own paintings. And so while one of the layers was drying, I'd come back to this and build on it. And it was a fun process because I just really allowed myself to loosen up. And I use the concept art as a guide for sure. I mean, it ends up looking, you know, like the whole point of a replicant video is to replicate the work. But for this one, this is the one that I sort of trusted my own instincts the most, because trying to replicate every little dry brush effect or every texture it's pretty impossible. So you just have to kind of do your own thing, and I really enjoyed that process. So I'm layering here. I've got my gouache is quite watered down, but the brush itself was dry, so I dried off the brush first, and then picked up some watered down gouache, and then with pressure, so if I have less pressure on my brush, then I get more of a textured effect on to the illustration board. And then just some darker areas. So I've just put in the shadows. I put the shadows in where the lady and the tramp will be sitting, waiting for their spaghetti. And now I'm using, what is that? That's primary magenta, white, black, and yellow. And I'll be mixing it together in a moment. I just had to add these little, I don't know what those were, just these little light spots. They look like footprints, but I don't know what they are. Anyway, so I've got white, black, primary magenta, and I use a small amount of yellow to tone it down so that it's not as warm, it's not as, it doesn't have as much chroma. So to desaturate, remember we always use the complementary color. And it's not exactly the complementary, but it is the complementary to purple. So I think orange or yellow is the complementary to purple, I think. Yeah, so that desaturates it a bit. And you can see here it's like a really nice, deep, dark sort of aubergine, or as I call it, eggplant color, and blocking in the buildings. And so again, I'm doing this really quick, like super like sloppy, maybe not super sloppy, just slightly sloppy, a little slight slop there. And yeah, getting in and sort of practicing the dry brush, like getting a feel for it, because there's going to be a lot more coming up in this video. But for now, I'm just blocking in the first coat of the walls. And this one's quite thick, this area. It's pretty opaque, but as I continue on, I add more water so that it's smoother, and I should have used a bigger brush. I do this often. I get a little bit lazy and I just go for it with the brush I have. Especially if I'm using the brush to mix water into my paint, and then I'm like, oh, I might as well use the paint off of the brush. But it would have been easier had I used a slightly larger flathead brush. But anyway, here I am blocking it in with the first coat. And then this piece is really about layering. So don't worry about the background being sketchy like this and sort of streaky. And then as you can see, my proportions, as I mentioned, were off. So fixing that up. And yeah, going back to this light greeny color, mixing it in with some black, making a gray, just throwing everything in there, just throwing it all into the mix, so that I could do the building closer. This is a great, this piece is a great example of like halfway through, everything looks so shitty and like just bad. It looks really not great, but it slowly builds into something really cool looking. And at this point, I trust it. Like at this point, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to worry about how bad it looks right now, because I know that as I build up the dry brush and all the textures are going to look great. Once you put the black in, that contrast, it tightens it all up and it just looks so cool. Yeah, so New York, I'm heading to New York in 2 days, leaving extremely early in the morning. So I decided to get up super early this morning, and I'm going to train myself because I'm on the West Coast. And I'm visiting Gina, hi Gina, who I shouldn't say too much because it's, you know, Privacy Act, something like that. But yeah, we met through this channel, and her and her partner are kind enough to let me stay with them, and we have some plans to go and check out some art shows, and we're going to drive upstate and check out some galleries in cute little towns, and yeah, the Hudson Valley, and do some art, make some art. And I won't be there long, but I'm sure I'll go back again. I'm extremely excited. Never been to New York. If you've been, tell me about your experience in the comments below. And also, I should mention, as I'm putting in this, very quickly putting in these black details, the doorways, the windows, I will mention that I am teaching a Zoom course. I have to keep remembering to mention this because I'm terrible at promoting my own work or my own courses, but I'm teaching a Zoom course. There's 2 different sessions to choose from, either Saturday mornings or Sunday nights, and starts in a few weeks, and they're just 2-hour classes once a week for 6 weeks, and you'll be painting replicants with me. So yeah, check it out. There's a link in the description so you can go and find out more about it, and feel free to ask me any questions that you may have. All right, so now we're continuing on with some more layers of the textured light and shadow. And you can see that I'm just sort of, it's hard to explain the technique. It's like what am I doing? I don't even know. I'm using my wrists and sort of my fingers. It's called painting. I don't know if you've heard of it, but I'm trying my hardest. Oh, this part's amazing. So just yellow with a little bit of white, because yellow is quite transparent. So adding some white into it gives it a bit of a punch, and then filling in that doorway, which later will define, and these little windows. I just love the way this looks with everything else being quite dark. Yeah, it just gives a great effect of this glowing light. And getting a big scoop of white in there, a little bit of the black. And I want it to be a light cyan gray to fill in some of these boxes. Just some boxes, you know, hanging out in the alley. What else? What else can I say? It's funny, this one's hard to describe because I'm just blocking in the shapes that I see in the original piece and quickly sort of layering in the shadows while I continue to paint in the different elements. And I think at this point I'm listening to Bad Brains. Does anyone know who Bad Brains is? A punk band. I don't usually listen to punk when I'm painting, but it came on and it just felt perfect. I was like right in the zone. So yeah, I'm painting quite fast here and furiously mixing without really thinking too much, and enjoying this process a lot. Yeah, this, wait, I'm going to pause this. Hold on, I got to pause. All right, I'm back. We can continue. Yeah, I'm finding it difficult to give you any instructions on this because it's just me dry brushing layer after layer. Ooh, that was nice. I put a little bit of water in with the yellow, and then I was able to do that yellow glow on the ground that's coming out of the doorway. But I did look up Lady and the Tramp, Eyvind Earle, and I was wrong. He actually worked on Peter Pan first in 1953, and then was given the assignment to work on this. So this was a bigger deal because he did the backgrounds for the entire scene, plus some of the concept art, and came up with the color schemes and whatnot. So this scene, the other thing I was wrong about is it comes after they walk through the park. So they've walked through the park already. I guess that's sort of like the foreplay. They kind of like work their way up to the spaghetti kiss, which makes more sense. And speaking of kissing, has anyone heard about this new fad where you wait like 3 months, you date someone for 3 months before you kiss them? Is this something, has anyone heard of this? It sounds pretty crazy, but it's really smart too. I don't know. If a kiss is good enough, it's going to mess with your head and you won't be able to pick up on all those red flags. But I wonder if spaghetti kisses are allowed. Okay, so anyway, Disney wanted Eyvind to work on this because he felt that he would give it an impressionistic romance or romantic feel, which I think he does. It's quite romantic. Who doesn't like to have spaghetti in an alley filled with garbage and mysterious footprints? I hope I get to do that when I go to New York. Hey Gina, are we going to go eat some spaghetti in the alley? Are you going to introduce me to some hot dogs? To some hot dogs? Hot dogs and spaghetti in an alley. That sounds like the ultimate New York experience. Yeah, ooh, that's fun. This one's fun. Okay, so I'm on a little bit of the side of my brush to create more texture. That's another trick. I would recommend, and I've said this before, but get a little, extra piece of paper or illustration board or map board and do some test runs, like paint some swatches. I would go like 3 by 3 inches. And then after you paint the swatches, do some dry brush over top and see what happens. And yeah, just to get comfortable with it. Or you can just jump right in to a piece of concept art. Why not? No one's looking unless you're recording it for YouTube, and then it better be good. No, actually, it was some friends of mine on the weekend. I played Outer Rim, which is a very complicated Star Wars game. On what day was that? Sunday, otherwise known as Revenge of the Fifth, and we had a great time. But they were telling me they'd been watching some of these videos and gave me some great feedback. They really enjoyed them, which felt so good to hear. And they said that they liked the fact that I didn't always do, like, that I was just kind of winging it. Like I screwed up sometimes, right? Like sometimes I really don't achieve what I set out to achieve. And I think that was cool. That was cool to hear that, because I don't really know what I'm doing sometimes, and sometimes I shock myself that things turn out as good as they do, and then other times you see me in real time making mistakes. Okay, so here's a little tiny bit of white with a little tiny bit of cyan. What am I doing? What am I making here? I think I'm going to be making the little table. Oh, the little the wine bottle that the candle is in. Yeah, cute. Yeah, so this whole part here was kind of tough because I found that the colors were getting lost with all that darkness behind it. I mean, it turns out okay, but you do need to add, I think, more white than you think you're gonna have to add, just so that things can pop against those darker backgrounds. And I'm making the glow for the lamp. So adding a little bit of, oh no, I'm not. I'm making the color of the tramp. What I was going to say, oh my gosh, earlier when I first started editing this video, I kept thinking in my head, Lady in the Trump, because he's a dog, and this color, I don't know, somehow this sort of weird orangey color made me think of that alternative title, Lady in the Trump. But no, let's not say that about the tramp, because he's a cute dog. Or no, that's Lady. Wait a second. That's Lady with the long ears. She was so pretty. Such a cute dog. And the glow of the candle, which is basically the same yellow with white, just a little watered down. And here's the tramp. But I made him into a mouse. It's like Lady's having... or a rat, I guess makes more sense if they're in the alley. Lady's date has been replaced by a rat. Oh well. Would you rather go out with a rat or a dog? Okay. Oh, which brings me to something else. When I'm in New York, the first night I'm there, I'm going to a human petting zoo. I don't think it's what it sounds like. I don't know. The description of it's an art show, but the description did say that it's not for the faint of heart. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, this is where things really come together with this piece, because we're bringing in like the darkest details. And when you bring in the darkest details, that's when it all starts to make more sense. And all of that texture and all of that quick, rushed, impressionistic painting is contained now with this contrast and these details, and it starts to make more sense, and your eyes are relieved, and when we see things that make more sense, they're more attractive to our eyes, which is cool. I've been watching videos on YouTube about light and shadow, color theory, and how it's used in movies, and I just learned recently that the reason we love contrast so much, or the reason people are attracted to contrast, is because it's helped us survive. It's like a survival mechanism, to be able to see red against green, like red berries in a green jungle, and to be able to really make out objects visually is pleasing to us because it's helped us survive. So contrast is pleasing to the eye. Creating a background that's a little bit more blurred, using things like atmospheric perspectives so the things in the foreground are more defined, these are all things that our eyes are really happy. They're really pleased seeing. Did I mention that it's super early in the morning, that I'm up, like I got up 4 hours earlier than usual? So yeah, we're gonna give my brain a break and allow for me to not make a lot of sense. But yeah, things are starting to come together, and now I'm going to do the stars. Oh, I was so looking forward to this part. Some little starries and a moon. It's got the full moon in here, which is the opposite today. It's the new moon. So what are your intentions? You're supposed to set out intentions during a new moon. Did you know that? So my intention, I'm not gonna share. That's private. That's a private thing. My intention. Little moon, there we go. It's not, yeah, no, I perfect it. I was gonna say it's not perfect, but wait. I would never let it stay like that. Painting circles, that's a skill. Takes some practice, but I got it. When your moon hits the eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore. Sorry, that's from Moonstruck. Another amazing movie that takes place in a city, Moonstruck. Who's seen Moonstruck? Oh, it's good. So stars, remember, just random. You want to put them in randomly, but sort of bunched together. And yet another skill, painting random stars. And then I had to fix the dog ears because they were too rat-like, too mouse-like. So I gave them a little bit of a little droopy ear action. And last but not least, so this part, some highlights here and there, a little bit of moon glow, but this part, so I'm using my new brush, and this brush turned out, I'm really digging this brush. I think it's a 6. And I just got texted by some weirdo, probably trying to sell me something, so I'm going to ignore that. Okay, so putting in the details using my new brush. I love this brush. Yeah, I will write it down in the description below because I'm stoked about this brush, although that line was a little questionable, but I smooth it out. Look at that, not too bad. It really is much better when you just do those lines with confidence and don't overthink it. Ragged clothes hanging on the clothesline. Someone's clothes have been all chewed up. I love the fact that these, like that's a little shirt. You can tell it's a little shirt, but the other ones are just kind of random shapes that are sort of clothing-like. A little apron there. Looks like my painting smock. And then I'm right out of frame. Sorry about that, everyone. But yeah, I love this last touch, these clothes in silhouette. Very effective. I'm going right across the moon. That was a little nerve-wracking. I was like, please don't screw this one up because it would really show up because it goes right across the moon. And ta-da, we're finished. There we go, Lady and the Tramp. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't like or subscribe. No, I'm just kidding. Hit all the buttons, baby. And enjoy. Wish me luck. I'll see y'all when I get back from New York.